think we can start. First of all, sorry for this slight delay. As a bottom-up organization, I think for AFRINIC, since we are handling public resources, the accountability is very important. I will not spend my time to expand the importance of accountability, since we have so many members in the panel. First of all, I would like to give the floor to Abibu, just to listen to say a few words before we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair of the panel. I would just welcome all the members to this session, and as you all know, there are two words which are challenging, and I think we need to understand them well. We are talking of accountability, but also there is another aspect of responsibility. So I think during this session, we'll be clear on these two words, and I look forward for two-way communication from the members and the panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abibu. I would like to remind the audience, this is no binding discussion. Feel free to express yourself. Now I will give the floor to the CEO of AFRINIC, Alain Barret, just to update us on what AFRINIC have been doing in terms of accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. In 2016, all 5 of the RIRs working together through the NRO, the Number Registry Organization, decided that it was appropriate for the RIRs to evaluate their own accountability processes. This was during the time of the IANA transition, when ICANN was doing a lot of accountability work, and so the RIRs decided that we should do that as well. And so each of the 5 RIRs engaged an independent law firm to go through the bylaws, to go through the company documents and procedures, and to evaluate the mechanisms that we have for accountability. So they looked at things like what is the process for elections, what is the process for passing policy, and subsequent to that, the boards of each RIR looked at the results, and the boards were asked to answer some questions internally about the ways in which things could go wrong. So, for example, one of the things that the board considered was what is the risk that some small group of members who are not representative of the entire membership, but that some small group could somehow take over and gain too much control. The board was asked to think about that, and as a result of that thinking, there was a proposal at the end of 2016 for several changes to the bylaws, and most of these proposals were intended to improve accountability. Some of them passed, some did not pass. We heard some comments during the discussion phase that instead of looking at bylaw changes one by one, we should have a comprehensive review of all the bylaws to think about them as a whole. And at the time, there was certainly the idea that that should happen, but it didn't happen in 2016. I hope that in the future, one of the tasks that the governance committee can take on for itself is to consider a bylaws review. I would love it if the governance committee would lead this community and the AFRINIC membership through a comprehensive review of the bylaws. Thanks. I think I've spoken enough.
Okay, thank you, Alan. The reason why we have a big panel is because of the multi-stakeholder aspect, which means that we make sure that at least in this panel, each entity is represented in the panel. The first question I would like to ask Maimouna Diop, she is representing the end user as ISOC chapter in Senegal. Maimouna, what is your view, your opinion about what AFRINIC have been doing in terms of accountability? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Are you speaking French?
Je vais parler I'm going to speak in French. Sorry for those who have to use their headsets. I'm here, I think, as the end user, but I also have a hat because I was a member of the AFRINIC board. As this issue of accountability, I think this issue of accountability in 2016, we reviewed some bylaws on these principles. So accountability, we need to define it. It is about doing what you have described, what you have said. And we have to recognize one's responsibility. We need to assume our responsibility. And at this level, those who should help us are the AFRINIC texts. If we have any issue in the implementation of this accountability in the transparency of this responsibility, I think that way we need to go back to the text. And we have not taken into account probably all the stakeholders. I think today, whatever we say, we have in AFRINIC, we feel that, how can I say, we feel somewhere some questioning. We have a lot of questioning on each and everyone's responsibility on the way we should do things. And I think it's high time we put in place a working group as we are used to doing in our respective countries, so that the text be reviewed if need be, or we could make sure that all the text be applicable. I think this questioning is important. We need to restore confidence and restore the credibility of this institution, which is important for Africa. And we want this institution to be strong. And in the face of the world, in the light of what is being done in other regions, the Africa region should trust these institutions, and Africans should demonstrate that we can manage like others would do. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Next, I will ask the same question to Hervé, which is representing Orange Telecom, which is one of the big members for AFRINIC. Please be brief because we don't have much time. Thank you, Hervé. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Christian. So panel because so I represent, even if I am French, I'm based in Paris, but I represent Orange as a whole because of affiliates in Africa. We were involved in the problematic of multi-stakeholder model, in the problematic of stewardship transition, in the problematic of accountability since a lot of years within the group, and I don't think we are an exception, and I think that large ISP group within Africa are concerned too. We have not about our point of view with Maïna before regarding this panel, but we share this point of view. In fact, we wanted and we hope as an ISP that rules, that processes, that the way of management decided by the communities and so are followed. We can agree or not agree with the principle, but it's decided by the community. And for us, the executive board is here to have a clear view to make sure that the process is ongoing, that the rule decided by the community in such way regarding their roles are strictly followed, and in case of dispute that the executive board gives a very clear view of what can happen without interpretation. Perhaps within the region, I don't know, text and policies can be clearer, but that's the idea of what we expect as well.
Okay. Now I would like to ask the same question to Douglas. Douglas is representing the community as a whole. Douglas, what is your view about what AFRINIC is doing in terms of accountability? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christian. For me, when I look at accountability, I first of all look at it with respect to the vehicles, the mechanisms, the checks and balances that an institution has in place. And with respect to this, I would like to say AFRINIC is doing pretty well. We have the bylaws, we have a board, we have a governance committee, and we have a few other things in between there. So with respect to having the mechanisms, the vehicles through which accountability can be achieved, I say we are doing a pretty good job. It is not perfect, but it's more than average. So we are doing really, really good. That's on the good side. On the bad side, I would say that comes down to our compliance in terms of our respect for these mechanisms and vehicles that we have in place. So if I were to say how are we doing with respect to our accountability, we could do better. And that better is with respect to how we comply, how we follow, how we improve, how we augment all of these mechanisms and vehicles that we have. So we have them in place. If we could only improve them, if we could only follow and respect them, we would find ourselves where we would like to be with respect to accountability. In a few words, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Douglas. Now I would like to ask the same question to Dr. Alex, who is representing academia point of view about the accountability. Alex, you have the floor. Please be brief and to the point. Thank you. Merci beaucoup, monsieur le modérateur.
Thank you, moderator. I'm going to shift in French. It seems to me that we need to understand, we're talking about accountability, and we need to actually report to the community on the way we're using resources and the various activities we have conducted. I think this is a critical element. Good governance. We need to hold all the necessary mechanism for accountability in order to tell to the community that the mission entrusted are well done, and this is important. In my view, I think there are two main challenges. The first one, what are the missions entrusted to AFRINIC, and these missions are entrusted, are given by the community, and this community is representing us. The second challenge is to talk about accountability in a pure term as a society, you see, and this has to do with norms, laws, and AFRINIC is a society which is registered in Mauritius, and it has to comply with the Mauritius law. So accountability is about accountability as enacted by the Mauritian law, and this may bring a confusion, and that's where we have a problem. That is to be able to appreciate these two mechanisms in order to be as transparent as possible, because what the community is asking is actually accountability, and I think this challenge should be addressed through the various mechanisms put in place, the governance committee. But for me, what is at stake is to have greater visibility and to be able to appreciate, to assess the impact of what has been done at the level of AFRINIC vis-a-vis the community. Because I do think at the community level, we need to add the impact aspect, which should be assessed in one way or another. This is what I would like to share with all the actors.
Dr. Alex. Now I would like to ask the same question to Dr. Sherif, who is representing the government. What is the government point of view about what is AFRINIC is doing in terms of accountability? Thank you.
Merci, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. I would like you to moderate this session in French, but anyway, we are in a Francophone country. We have a lot of Senegalese around. You see? Anyway, on this question, as my friend Alex said, this is a relatively important question. AFRINIC has the duty towards its members. This is an organization working for the interests of the community, of the African community, of the on the management of IP resources. For a sound management of these public resources, the board has to report to the community, keeping in mind transparency, and above all, make sure to put in place procedures for the control and verification, but also by having some openness, like to listen to the community, to listen to all the stakeholders and take into account their views, to reflect that in a good tradition of good governance. So in order to defend the interests of governments in a multi-stakeholder environment like AFRINIC, so what is important is to recommend AFRINIC to see what is going on at an ICON, and to take a leaf from ICON on the control conducted within ICON. And this is very critical, because this will enhance confidence and improve the relationship among the various stakeholders. As the vice president of the advisory council, I think it's equally important to stress the fact that this way of reporting with transparency management, this should be the backbone of a good organization working for public interest of the community. Even at ICON, this is a topical issue. Let me repeat that this is very important, and I think AFRINIC should consider that and make sure that like listen to the governments, because this should not be done. When it comes to providing resources to an operator, you verify if this operator has resources, if the government has provided the right license. That do that beyond the government. The government is here. They are taken on the government policy. So it's about defending public interests, and there should be a balance in the management of these resources. This is in a nutshell what I would like to put on the table, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Sheriff, now I open the floor for the question and comments, please. Be brief and to the point. We are running out of time, please.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Je tenais à être bref.
I'll be as brief as possible. First of all, Alex, you're right. Accountability, we have accountability, but responsibility as well. And some francophones translate that by responsabilité in French. Is I'm accountable to you, it means that I'm accountable and I have to report to you. The two go together. Alain, you said that you have started by reviewing the process for election, and you made sure that there was no capture of one group. You see, I think AFRINIC is members are appointed by the board, and within this we have 2 members of the board that are sitting. If there is a small group that have captured the board, so they will continue to capture it, because they will make sure to eliminate all those that are not on their side, and at the end of the day will be in the same situation. So I do think it's urgent to modify this And this is a real problem with regard to accountability. I thank you. Allez-y.
Merci. Moi, je pense que depuis quelques...
I think for some years we've been discussing on this issue, and they show that we have some problems regarding the registration of AFRINIC in
Nous avons eu beaucoup de discussions.
Yeah.
Et à chaque fois, on nous dit que non, on ne peut pas.
People always say, no, we cannot do this and that.
À cause du fameux Company Act. Moi, je pense qu'il faudrait que nous pensions vraiment à revoir cela, délocaliser, ou à la limite, ouvrir d'autres bureaux d'AFRINIC sur le continent. Je pense que c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement important, d'autant plus que dans beaucoup de cas litigieux, on nous dit qu'en fait, ce n'est la communauté qui a le contrôle.
Does not have the control, but members of the board that are recognized by the Mauritian government. I think this is a real issue. More often than not, we're talking about division of our community. I don't believe in that. I don't think in the division of our community. I think we rather have a small number of members in the community that are really vocal, and they give the impression to the rest of the world that our community is divided. Our community is not divided, and some of them should not use the hospitality and the African tolerance to come and create problems. I think this is something that we need to be aware of, and we're asking each and everyone to contribute to make sure that our community is united, especially in this complex phase, in this difficult phase. I think this community is strong enough. It can take up a lot of challenges and move forward. And I think that to do that, we should not put aside the community of elders that AFRINIC has put in place. Thank you. Emmanuel Adomi, I'm from the Francophonie. I would like to touch on 2 points.
Le premier
One,
abordé tout à l'heure. Je crois que mon prédécesseur a abordé les 2 points, mais
we talked about that. I would like to say very clearly that this community is a strong one for where democracy is working. AFRINIC will not disappear, contrary to what people are predicting. They try to discredit this organization. So they want to make people believe that there is a division between Francophone and non-Francophone. This is diversion. We have a minority that want to capture the organization, that wants to take resources. This is not something new in Africa. We know the history of Africa, and this minority is trying to distract us, and we're not gonna listen to that. This community will remain united to make sure that the resources of Africa serve Africans. That's what I want to say on this point. There is no division. We have democracy, and I wish to commend the community which has contributed to this democracy. This is the first point. This, Emmanuel, can you just summarize? Time is against us. I know that each and everyone wants to go and eat, but this is important. So I cannot be silent on this. Second point has to do with AFRINIC statutes. I think we need to work on changing the status of AFRINIC. The current situation is not acceptable. AFRINIC may be an international organization or a non-governmental organization.
So we need to go towards this status, and that way we can ask the Mauritius government to accredit AFRINIC. And this is an NGO which is asking for an accreditation. In this right, the right of AFRINIC will be applied. We cannot say that AFRINIC is just accountable to the Mauritian government. Thank you.
To the point, thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. My name is Kosi Amesinu. I'm the Vice President of the Internet Forum in Benin. I was saying that my name is Kofi Amesinu. I'm the Vice President of the Forum on the Governance of Internet in Benin. And I would like to reaffirm the need for AFRINIC to become an international organization. I would also like to reaffirm the need for accountability to be a rule. Is it necessary for the board of directors or the CEO, the general management of AFRINIC to ask for a policy to do the organizational audit, the financial audit on an annual basis? I think it's no, and if so, this should be valid for the audit of digital resources. The audit of digital resources is a necessity. Everything we sell at the market should have a price, and at the end of the sale, we need to know if we have won or if we have lost. I recommend that the Assembly called on the Director General of AFRINIC to conduct a functional audit of resources on an annual basis. It's not just saying how we allocate resources, but they need to tell us if the resources allocated are used and how they are used. I think je vais fermer.
After Dr. Neil, the queue is closed. Okay, Noah, please proceed.
Yeah, I'll be very brief for the record. I want to specifically request for a complete review of our bylaws, because we still have a whole range of issues that we need to basically sort out in terms of accountability, transparency, and we can't go deep into these things. But I want to see a whole complete review of our bylaws again. I don't know who's going to do it, if it's the board, if it's the GC, I don't care, but we need to do that.
Next, please.
Bruce Je pense que
I think the general problem of AFRINIC, I'm talking as a newcomer because I do not attend to AFRINIC meeting, but the problem has to do with the text, the founding text. I think we have done a lot of patches, and at a given time we have some inconsistencies, and this is the source of some of our problems. I witnessed that yesterday. Second point, when we talk about transparency, AFRINIC should engage in communication. Communication should be done for technicians, but for all the community of governance. In this renewal process, I feel that the majority is requesting for that. We need to give more room to newcomers and the youth, because these people could actually boost AFRINIC. So we cannot just renew things like that. We need to engage young people and newcomers, and these people are ready to contribute. Thank you. Ce sera le dernier orateur.
In reference to 343 of your document, you know my interest in public responsibility and the reference to responsible management, and also my role as a member of the Electronic Communications Tribunal of the Government of Ghana. I'd like to ask the following questions. Why is it that we have so many elections and each with apparently not so clear qualifications or requirements? I recall once a non-contract to even introduce education as a requirement, it was a major uproar. So one question. The next question I have is, how come it appears that some of us believe we are united here, very united, and you can make a test here and see yourself how you do that. Yet everyone else somewhere outside keeps talking about divisions in AFRINIC. And the last question is, how are we going to solve our concept in the bylaws of an AFRINIC which is bottom-up based, yet living with 9 official members of AFRINIC Limited in Mauritius? It's a clear conflict. Sometimes people say, AFRINIC Limited, and there's no AFRINIC company. How are we going to resolve that? Because that's not what we want. For us, that's implementation. So those are my questions for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Doc. I think we are running out of time. I will just give 60 seconds for each panelist to conclude. Thank you. No, I think we hear you and all your comments will be considered. I think this is no binding discussion. Everyone has made his point and we will consider it. No, you have the floor. 60 seconds, please. Go to the point.
Merci beaucoup. I think what has been said here is that we have a very strong community, and so putting in place AFRINIC has been in existence for 10 years, and it's normal that people are calling for reforms, and this demonstrates the vitality of the organization, that people are here, they're asking questions, they may have concerns, but out of this we can have the light. As Barry said, we are a strong community, we are a united community, but it's true that there are some people around, and some people are trying to divert us. But I think that's we need to be bold enough to review our text and adapt it. Someone has talked about open data. We are in a technological world where things are evolving very quickly. We need to adapt to that based on the environment around us. Merci.
Yes, very brief. So I have a double view about that, because I am an outside view from France, of course, and inside because I am impacted about the functioning of our different countries, Irish countries in Africa. So the different views and different remarks of the intervenants were very interesting, and it is something I heard. And what I find positive, in fact, in that community is the way to. It's a community who wants to discuss. We want to go forward, and it's something that can be stopped. And I think it's a positive way to do. Hello.
Thank you. There have been very many good comments here, and I believe that everybody here wants the best for AFRINIC. We don't always agree on what is best, but we all agree that we must find what is best and we must do it. I think that a review of the bylaws would be good. Several of the people have said that. I heard a comment about audits, and I'd like to emphasize that, of course, we have financial audits. Every year there's a financial audit. Audits of resources are much more difficult because it would take an enormous amount of staff time, which we do not have, to go and audit every single member. We have more than 1,500 members. We cannot realistically audit all of them, their use of IP resources. But we can do a few, and I hope that we'll be able to step up our process of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to respond maybe on 3 matters. The first is what everyone seems to be echoing in the room, that of the review of the bylaws, but I have no objection with. I actually support it. It should be done as soon as yesterday. There is also a question around the relocation of AFRINIC or jurisdiction and all of this. My response to this is, we should look at relocation not as an end in itself. It is a means, and it's a means to what? Because regardless of what jurisdiction you want AFRINIC in, whether it's Nigeria or Kenya or Uganda, those countries will have equally some challenges. So you need to look at it from the perspective, what are we trying to achieve? Has AFRINIC made it impossible, has Mauritius made it impossible for us to achieve those objectives and that end? And then we should work backwards from there, not argue for a relocation for the sake of the relocation. The third comment that has been raised is around the marriage and reconciliation between AFRINIC, the limited entity, and the community. It is my thinking that these structures are already catered for within our current government structures. Our bylaws define them. The power in terms of who can do what, propose resolutions, make representation to the board and all of this, it's already there. Perhaps what is missing is our respect for them. Now this goes in two ways. One, we can start respecting them, and then where there are some issues, we can still refer to the bylaws review and see how we can better refine and close any gaps that are missing. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, I think I would just like to remind the panelists, just because we don't answer the question, we discuss it maybe on the platform. Okay, I'll be on the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair of the panel. I'm happy to know and to hear that we are strong and united, and this is very key for the organization. And as one of the panelists said, we have all the procedures, we have all the processes, we have transparency issues, but the most important thing is about the trust. If there is no trust, there is no way we can practice transparency, which is key. And as always, we will be having some concerns or problems. They are part of the life, but we need to remain strong. Otherwise, you might think that we need angels in the board. We need members who are the angels, and that will be a different role altogether. So I requested the members to remain strong and united, and will come out of the challenges very strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Alex, please.
I would say one thing. I think everybody agrees that we need to review all the bylaws in order. People are talking about accountability, responsibility, accountability. I think nothing will be done without the engagement of the whole community from east to west. We should not saying we need to target each country. We need to ask the whole continent who wants to host. What is the best venue? What is the site that offers the best opportunities? We should not focus on such and such a venue. We need to be open. We need to be transparent, and this will be the strength of the community. I think we need also to know that the board and all those people around, they need to know that they are working for a community. They are not working for individual states, and we need to stress that. And I'm in favor of something that is open, and we need to have an international organization. We are a continental organization. So we need to find ways and means so that this be an international organization. Thank you. Dr. Jallo? Thank you, Alex. I wanted to stress this point because we should not forget that Africa is not just Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria. Alex is right to underscore that this is important. When we look at West Africa, we have countries like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire that are making important efforts in this area. We talked about transparency, but all this is translated by one word. How do we restore the image of Africa? We need to work in this regard. And to go to transparency, we need to have trust, having a good standing, and for that to be possible, we need to listen to all the community, all the stakeholders. That's why I was saying that we need to take on board the directives edicted by the government. So we have a committee bringing together regulators. So the problem we have is that we are making a plea so that we listen to the governments which are here and which represent all the stakeholders and all communities. Thank you.
Note, I would like to thank you all for your active participation, and I will wish you bon appetit.